recording.
Oh, is that you, Jim?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay. On my laptop, it wouldn't let me start it for some reason, but I think it's on my Zoom account, not Cesar's, right?
It's on Cesar's now.
Yeah. How are you feeling?
A bit better now.
Okay. Sorry
Okay.
to hear that you're a bit under the weather, and please get your rest. I know there's a lot going on right now. We have
Yeah.
between
Thanks.
HubSpot and everything. So Jem is works with Global Chamber. She's a key leader on our team and works with events. She's based both in the Philippines and in Singapore, and she's in Singapore right now and feeling a bit under the weather. So get well soon, Jem.
Thanks.
My name is Doug Brunke. I am the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. I have uh, ties to both Salt Lake City and Denver. And so when we meet every month, we typically combine them into a cross metro that also includes Boise, I guess, would be included, and anything in between will, I'm sure, have one of our leaders out of Ogden be a speaker at one point too, and any other cities that are involved within the Rockies and the Intermountain West. The purpose of this conversation is, as we do in other parts of the world, have a conversation about what's going on globally. 10 years or so ago, when Global Chamber was founded, it was hard to get anybody to talk about global. It just seemed like that was not a normal topic. Today, it's on the news every day, for better or for worse. And yes, in some cases worse, there's some weird stuff going on. But generally, what's happening is good. I'm an optimist and believe that, by talking about it, we're getting more people aware of it. That's one of the driving forces behind Global Chamber. Mainly, what we do is connect our members to clients. Mainly, we connect them to other resources that are going to help them, whether it's investors or some sort of a resource, and generally clients. So that's pretty much what we do every day. We also do events. We did over 700 last year. We're not really, though, an events organization, even though we do a lot of them. That's more of a networking activity that is important. We should all be doing that. But being an old guy, I don't want to be subjected to networking, and I don't want our members to have to get value by just relying on networking. So we strategically connect our members by understanding who they want to meet and connect them. And then we do things like this that allow additional things to happen. And there's some really interesting people in the room. And so I don't want to spend much more time on kind of prefacing this other than to say, we love the Global Tribe. Thank you for your support and collaboration. Most of you are members. I wouldn't mind ideally starting with Allison Furch, because she's been through a lot the last few months, probably. But Allison, your big event was in Montreal last month. Could you tell us a little bit more about Gala, what happened last month, and then what's going on generally with not just the organization, but with the localization and globalization industry? You're based in Denver and you operate all around the world. Uh, Give us some good news, give us some challenges, and give us some opportunities if you can.
Okay, cool. So first, like, I have to beg forgiveness for the name because it's kind of an awful name. It's bad for SEO. But GALA stands for Globalization and Localization Association. We're considering rebranding. We are a trade association, an international trade association. So we're nonprofit, and our members are located around the world. Two-thirds are in Europe, about 27% in North America, and the rest in the rest of the world. And the companies and the industry that GALA serves and supports are operating in language. So language services and language technologies primarily. And our stakeholders can be service providers or vendors. they can also be enterprise customers. So we have folks like IKEA and Nintendo, but we also have companies like Delta Translations based in Argentina. So broadly speaking, language services is estimated to be between 50 and 70 billion dollars a year. It's kind of the oil that lubricates the global business machine. And it's not something that people think about unless it's part of their job. And so one of our goals as a trade association is to kind of shine a light on language operations, how they take place in companies, and then obviously we try to support our members to be better, do better, be more professional, adopt technologies. And I would say that on the advocacy side of things, we want anybody who's operating in a global business or a business that's multilingual. It doesn't even have to be global, because here in the US, we could be serving lots of languages, for example. We just want them to understand that there are best practices, there's great technologies, there's a community for them where language nerds like them, whether or not they're working in language specifically, or maybe they're a product owner, or maybe they're in marketing, or maybe they're in compliance, doesn't matter. So we're trying to reach those people and help them basically be better professionals. So that's a kind of an overview of what Gala does. We're a small staff operation. There's 5 of us that are full-time, handful of contractors. Most of us are in the US, but we've got a presence in Argentina and in Europe. And then I'll just share a little bit about the Montreal event, a little bit about the Berlin event, and then just a tiny bit about the industry and what's happening now. And I'll try to do that quickly. But we host one annual conference. We move it around the globe. So we met in Montreal, Canada last month in April for about 3 days. It's a pretty typical conference setup with a lot of sessions, plenaries, and kind of networking events, cultural events, and social events. We had a really outstanding keynote presentation from the longtime CEO of Cirque du Soleil, who spoke about creativity in business and innovation. And he just hit it out of the park. We didn't record it, obviously, part of the contract, but it was really special and it was unforgettable. And what a cool company and what a cool guy. So Montreal had about 350 people. Normally, when we're in Europe, we have closer to 500 people, all getting together to talk about language and technology and global business. And we'll be meeting in Berlin next year. Like I said, probably a larger crowd, similar construct in the event. And it's a really cool community because the people that work in this industry are multilingual, multicultural, they're usually well-traveled, and they have a very global sensibility in terms of kind of open-mindedness and breaking down obstacles to communication and business, as opposed to erecting walls and metaphorical and otherwise. So the last thing I'll say is just kind of what's happening in this industry is rapid change from AI. AI has been a part of this industry for at least a decade. We've seen machine translation routinely used, but it's getting better and it's getting faster. And I think the key impact is that it's changed expectations. It's changed customer expectations. And so customers are expecting, push a button and get what you need, but everybody's finally coming to terms with the fact that that's not how automation works. You're not going to get the quality that you need that way. And so my final parting thought for you would be, don't use Google Translate, please, in business, unless it's for personal use. Know that there are really sophisticated technologies. It's getting better all the time, and there are a lot of experienced companies that can help you with any multilingual and multicultural communication needs. So that's a little bit about Gala, a little bit about our conferences, a little bit about the industry. I'm based in Southeast Aurora, kind of new to the area, still been here about 1.5 years, and I'm really delighted to be, part of a broader network because it can feel a little niche where we sit with language. And so I'm happy to meet you guys and be a part of the group.
That was that was how we got connected through Yuka Nakasone, who is the Global Chamber Executive Director all across Spain in 4 main cities. And so she feels that way, that, and the way she described it, it felt like that industry, is quite niche. It's very strong industry, very connected industry, but it feels very different from my own experience. I never even heard of that industry, and I worked in corporate. And so, because I was an executive level, and these folks tend to work a lot with the marketing groups and other, so it's like never the twain shall meet. It's a little bit like if anybody here is familiar with OWIT, the Organization of Women in Trade. I don't think there necessarily is one in Denver. Vanita, is there one in Salt Lake? Do you know of OWITs?
A what? Sorry?
An OWIT, an Organization of Women in Trade. Does that sound familiar?
No.
So they're in different places around the world. They're based out of Geneva, and I originally got connected to them in Phoenix. And it's mostly women, and it's mostly women in trade, but they're doing the paperwork. And so it was like, wow, that's what's happened. So it's like, here we are doing international work, and everybody's got even a piece of it, a fragment of it. And that's kind of not what we want. We want everybody working together that's doing global business, and we want more people involved with international business, and that's the goal. Does anybody have any questions for Allison?
No, I think that's awesome with the language piece, because it's really necessary and it's growing. Do you have that system? I was at an event the other day, and they had this system where they was doing this demo where somebody was talking in a different language, and then it was doing the translation. Is that more like what you do?
Well, our members do that. So we have a number of members that do that kind of interpreting. One of them is called Wordly, and another is Interprify. So these are members of our trade association, and they do work on this, which is really cool technology, because you could be on your mobile phone with your headphones in, and you could be hearing either automated computer interpreting or a human interpreter in your ears while the person on stage is speaking in a different language. It's pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we have members that do that. Yeah.
Okay, so you do a subscription to them to do that?
Well, so as the trade association, our mission is really to support all of our member companies. And so we do that primarily by offering professional development and training sessions, and then these events where we, address hot topics, but also give them an opportunity to network. And I know, Doug, you were laughing about networking, but this, the way the supply chain works in this industry, it's like super connected. So imagine a scenario where you need something in simplified Mandarin and Polish, because Barry was talking about Poland earlier. You need to find a resource, either a human or machine translation, that can work with that language pair. Anyway, there's thousands and thousands of companies that do this kind of work, and like Doug said, it's kind of invisible work. It's a professional service that people just don't think about until you open a box and you read a really crappy translation. Then you think about it.
I had a client who wanted some Mandarin translation, and it was like so hard to find. But anyway, yeah.
So people like Leilani Craig in Salt Lake with ComGet. Yeah. I would imagine she's probably a member of GALA, but
Leilani is actually involved so GALA is the global organization for this industry, and then there's a national one which is for North America, actually, so North American regional. And Leilani is part of that organization called ALC, or Association of Language Companies. But yeah, we know each other and go way back. So Vanita, next time one of your clients asks for something like that, go to our member directory on our website, and you can search for service providers that can do Mandarin for you.
And this
no problem.
GALA?
It's our website. I'll drop it in the chat, but it's gala-global.org, and I'll put our member directory in there. so that you guys can kind of see who's who, you know, which kind of companies are part of our community. So you can think of us as analogous to Global Chamber. We're a membership organization, and the companies come to Gala because they get training, development, networking, business development, all kinds of stuff.
It's a parallel universe with, and
Yeah.
then our leader in Spain, Yuka, who's actually in Japan this week and next week, she runs events that kind of combine the two worlds, but I'm not sure that happens anywhere else. We've talked about doing more of that, and I think it'll be valuable. Does anybody else have any questions for Allison?
I do.
Yes.
Allison, so my name's Amy Legard. I'm with BMO Bank here in Denver. So I'll have to reach out and connect with you. But do you ever do work in translating for bank documents? And the reason I'm asking is there are times that we can communicate with other banks, and our clients that are international sometimes need services where we need to collect information, and it might be China, it might be, a bank in another country, and we receive the information completed. However, it's not translated, right? So the bank in China, for instance, might complete the information. We receive it, we provide it to our implementation team, and they're like, sorry, we can't use this. And I didn't realize there was a service or a trade organization like this. It doesn't come up a lot, but is it a service that banks have used?
Oh, sure. I mean, here's the thing, Amy, like any kind of content that you could dream of, whether it's legal or banking or biomedical or video games or anything on Netflix, like you've got specialists. So, and sometimes in certain cases, you need what's called a certified translation. And that's often true in banking and in finance and in legal and in certain healthcare situations, you need a certified translator. So, I mean, there's a couple of options. You can always work with translators, professional translators directly. And sometimes if you have low volumes of work, it's great to just develop relationships with a couple of freelance linguists that specialize in your domain. And I can tell you how to find them too. Sometimes if you have a larger volume of work, you're going to want to have partners, or if it's consistently, for example, French, you're dealing with French banks, or, you might want to find a partner that specializes both in French and in financial documents. So, and they exist. It's amazing. Anything you can dream of, recipes, they exist as specialists. Yeah.
And welcome to Colorado. I'll have to reach out. I'm on the south side as well. I'm a little further south than you, but I'll connect, and maybe we can set up something.
Thanks.
That would be great. And City of Aurora is a member. Ricardo sends his regrets that he wasn't able to attend today. And actually, Leilani also sent me a message earlier that she's traveling or on vacation or something like that. And so she wanted a transcript I think she actually said transcript, but we would send her a video of this. So any other questions for Allison? And hearing none. Thank you so much, Allison. Really appreciate. And if you can, please hang on. I'm sure there'll be some other things that come up. I wanted to make sure that Vinita got to introduce herself as well, because she leads international programs at the Mill in Salt Lake, and so invariably, there's all sorts of companies that would need localization, globalization support. Vinita, did you want to share a little bit about your view of what's going on in the market right now and any help that you need?
Oh, yeah. So actually, yes, translation services is very much needed. Like we have some clients who are in different countries that sometimes need those documents. So I'm Vanita. I managed a global program. It's an executive certificate for global business management. So I work with companies that are looking to expand abroad and help them find resources. We do a training, a 10-week training online. It's a hybrid module. And we just go through like the basics for companies that are looking. So we are looking for companies that are already international. That way they can share best practices with the companies we are working with. And we also have, we are looking for sponsors for the program as well. And that gives them the opportunity to actually come in and meet with the companies. And then, you know, there could be acquisition of services for that program. So we are wrapping up that 10 weeks for this semester. It's offered twice a year tonight, actually, and then the next one starts in September. So when that's ready, I'll send that out and you can share, because we sometimes have people from international countries that would Zoom in and take the class as well, because we help both inward and outward. In what's happening last week, we had a really good international trade summit, and we had some really good, powerful speakers. That was inspirational. That's, you know, still looking towards the globalization and global trade. So I'd say, you know, despite all the ups and downs, we still have to work. We still have to put things in motion, because it's still happening. It's not gonna change right now. So there'll definitely be some changes. So we are still hopeful, and the governor, he did a presentation, and you know, he did some assurance, and we had Condoleezza Rice, we had Mike Pompeo, and you know, everybody was still hopeful. So it was a good session. It was 2 days last week in Salt Lake. And other than that, you know, we're still hoping things would, you know, get better and people would still go along with global trade and do what they have to do.
A lot going on. Thank you. Anything coming up that we should be aware of?
Not right now. Just working through, getting the next set of programs in order, and go from there.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll keep going around the room, and feel free, if you have questions, to interrupt me and the proceedings, and just unmute yourself and ask questions, or use the chat area. Feel free to connect there as well and share your information. We will wrap up in about no longer than 30 minutes, so we'll be done by the top of the hour. So you can be rest assured we won't go beyond that. Could Amy, you introduced yourself slightly by asking a question. BMO is a longtime member of Global Chamber in other cities, including Kevin Brown in Chicago, who's on our advisory board. So I really enjoyed our conversation. I noticed that I think I owe you some information, so I'll get that over to you. So I apologize for the delay.
And me and Kevin have been playing phone tag and trying to connect back and forth with our availability with PTO and everything. So I will be connecting with him. Vanita, it's funny, I was in Salt Lake. So my name's Amy Legard. I sit in Denver. I work for BMO. It was Legacy Bank of the West. So I've been with the bank since 2007. About 2.5 years ago, BMO acquired us. I sit in the commercial bank. I work with our clients, our commercial clients, and basically the 10 to 50 million segment, work on onboarding clients. I typically help with the liquidity management, onboarding accounts, efficiencies, managing risk. I'm in our treasury and payment solution team. And I do work in Utah as well. Vanita, I actually traveled with Governor Cox to Montreal and Toronto with the trade mission, and met with Rich last week, Israelson, who told me all about the 2-day event that you guys had with the governor and Condoleezza Rice. So part of why I focus on in looking at the global trade is we actually have a unique position in North America. We work with companies in the US and cross-border otherwise, but our Canadian, we're owned by a Canadian bank. So we actually are BMO North America. Our Canadian parent sits in Toronto, even though we're Bank of Montreal. I actually visited last month as well in Montreal and saw the original bank in Montreal across from the Notre Dame Basilica, which was established, I think, 1817, before they were country. But we have a unique position in that we are able to bank our clients that are in Canada. So on one platform, we're the only company that is able to do that today. So we, for instance, I have a company in Utah that just bought another company in Canada. And I have a partner, we're able to set them up on one platform and they can simply do transfers. So they purchased a company for $3 million. They were able to deposit it here and then do a transfer without any type of exchange and simply do it as a real-time transfer. So we really do try to focus on helping our friends north of the border and companies here that do business in Canada. So I'm looking forward to exploring more how I can become more involved with the Global Chamber. But thank you for allowing me a few minutes.
Appreciate it.
Amy, were you here for the luncheon with the consulate? I
I
think
actually,
you were at World Trade Center.
the beginning of March, on March 5th, I actually gave a cross-border presentation
Yeah.
in Catherine and Sylvan. And so, yeah, I was the one on the end who gave
Okay.
the cross-border presentation about BMO's capabilities.
Yes, I remember. I met you. I think we were
I met
walking
you.
out.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love if you could connect me, or if we can connect and talk about how you guys can work, how we can work with that program with you guys as well.
Okay, yes, I remember meeting you, Vanita. We met a lot of people, but yes, and it was sort of last minute that they
Yeah.
allowed me to do a cross-border presentation, but it was very busy with Aunt Catherine and Sylvan and whatnot. So yes,
Right.
I will
Yeah.
connect with
Good. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Maybe the next logical next step might be Megan. Megan Caswell's in Denver. She is part of International SOS, and they've been a member since our early days. There's a couple different groups there that we work with. Over the years, we've had at least a couple presentations, and it's so clear that their capabilities on the medical side and supporting corporations with their staff and the doctors that they have are totally amazing. And then they have other services as well. And so Megan, could you just give us a little bit of a sense of what you guys do, and then anything you'd like to comment about what you're seeing in the world right now? Welcome.
Yes. Yeah. So thanks, Doug. So International SOS, like you had said, we're typically known, and we actually started as an evacuation company in Southeast Asia over 40 years ago, actually 40 years ago this year. So, and it was started by a doctor and a businessman for expats that they were doing evacuations to basically to locations and providers that had proper standards of care. And so over the years, they came across the world, and the last headquarters that we set up was in the United States in Philadelphia, in Trevose, right outside Philly. We've also evolved our model through that as well, right? So that's including security, and now we've incorporated mental health and consulting into that. And as what we do is we kind of pay attention to what's going on and what is relevant in the world, and we incorporate that into what we do, and become the best at it. And that's what our goal is. So, for example, 9/11 happened, and a lot of our clients were coming to us and saying, we can't find our people. Help us find, our people And so we developed Tracker, and that's where we were, your organizations and our clients were able to pull up with technology the ability to locate their employees at any moment and communicate with them in two-way and say, are you okay? Do you need help? Do you need assistance? And that's where International SOS would come into play as we're their 911 all over the world at any moment, right? So we have 28 assistance centers all around the world that are staffed with doctors and security specialists. And so the travelers would be able to reach out to them via their app or phone or live chat and have access to our doctors and security specialists and also mental health specialists now. And so that was an element during COVID that we entered in, as we found we had a 300% spike in cases that were all surrounded around mental health, right? And we continue to see that develop and grow, as we can see in the United States and globally. And so then when we saw was people were trying to return to operations after COVID, right? And they came to us and our clients were saying, can you help us? How do we do this? And so, bye, Barry. And so we said, absolutely, right? So we support, 87% of the Fortune 100 and 69% of the Fortune 500. And so these organizations are large organizations and these are also NGOs and 500 plus of the scholastic institutions. And so they're saying, help us get back in business. And so we really beefed up and amped up our consulting. And so this was helping them develop the hybrid model, right? And so we have a lot of like the ability to watch your Netflix and your favorite shows on Prime, and all of those are because we helped them, navigate the paths within the studios to be able to get people back in there and filming safely, and got our doctors in there. It was really incredible to see what they had done. So we started to develop and beef up our consulting piece. And so when you ask kind of what are we seeing that's relevant today, and for us, it's the consulting and global compliance that we're finding our clients are coming to us for, saying everything is changing every day, with new leadership in the United States. Can you help us keep ahead of this and make sure that we are staying compliant? Because from location to location and country to country, it's different. And there's so many different websites. How can we make sure that, we are staying in line? And so what we did is we've helped with, emergency action planning and global compliance standards. And so that's where, we've begun to make sure that not only are they compliant, both with like emergency action planning, occupational health requirements, workplace violence programs, all the way up through the travel risk management, incident management, crisis management, event management, right? So everybody has mentioned, right, that they're traveling for these large and hosting these large global events where people are coming in from all over the world. And we need to make sure that everyone is safe and taken care of, and that the executives, right, that are traveling, that the C-suite feels comfortable traveling now, and that security is safe for where they're going. So, we do all of the executive, all of the event planning and management for all of the Olympics and Pan Am Games and FIFA, all of those things to make sure that everybody is safe. We staff medical clinics and all of the medical doctors and nurses that are there to make sure that everyone is taken care of should an event take place. And then all the way up to stress management and well-being. So I feel like I'm talking a lot, but that's really what we're kind of focusing on now, is helping companies, make sure that they're prepared, because there's more critical events and natural disasters that are more catastrophic, right? And so that's creating more claims and more challenges to claims, which is making everyone's insurance costs rise. And then the big part is the government funding is decreasing, which is, for all of our NGO clients, our state and federally funded clients, that's where they're coming into place, and it's more corporate responsibility that's being put onto them. So we are just helping organizations really navigate this new and really what we're kind of calling a perma crisis that we're seeing everyone in. So that's where we're at today, but I feel like I talked a lot, so sorry.
That's a great summary. Thank you very much. We'll continue to circle, and you mentioned nonprofits and the situation there. So Casey Moore, you know all about that aspect, or certainly being in the ecosystem. What's the latest and greatest in Denver for you?
Yeah, that is quite a presentation to follow. So thank you. So the Denver Council on Foreign Relations is a nonprofit, but we do more event-related things to try and educate people in the Denver and Colorado area about things happening in international affairs, foreign policy, even global sustainability and energy. And so we have a really nice lineup for next year that we're still working on, but we have a few upcoming events that I'm really excited about. One is we will have the Canadian Consul General coming to speak with us on June 5th about tariffs, U.S.-Canadian relations, and kind of what that looks like now. He should be, I'm hoping, pretty candid. He's going to be leaving in a couple months and is going to be replaced by a new Consul General. So I'm very, very interested to hear what he has to say. We also have a young professionals event. We have a really active young professionals committee who puts on their own speaker series. That's going to be in July. And then we also have the Taiwanese representative to DC coming out at the end of July as well. And so again, these events are to raise awareness for things that people just might not be able to learn about. So for example, some of our speaker events this past season has been on the economic collapse of Venezuela. We've had people come and talk to us about human rights in Hong Kong, on what we're seeing in the Arctic and Antarctica, both with the science and kind of the melting ice and the melting permafrost, but also what the geopolitical implications of that are. We have two big programs that we do every year. One we just had, which is our Global Engagement Award, that went to Janine Davidson, the president of MSU, for all of her amazing contributions in the national security space, as well as her dedication to local education. And then our second premier event is our Future of Space Policy Forum and Expo, which is in October. This year it's going to be on October 14th. And we're doing an entire program on what the policy is for the race to build a base on the moon. So that one's going to be real interesting. We're going to dive into the logistics, the legal, and the geopolitics of what it means to build a base on the moon and have people permanently habitating up there. So yeah, that's a bit about us.
Fantastic. Continued success. When I started Global Chamber, I was on the board of the Phoenix Committee of Foreign Relations. And so knowing what those types of organizations do, I built Global Chamber to be complementary. And the programs that you've got coming up, as the ones you're doing, are very similar to the ones in Phoenix and to other groups that are so vital, so important, so deeply connecting to individuals and also topics that are so timely. So thank you for supplementing what we intend to do, which is on the business side, and more broadly, and be more tactical on helping in specific countries, the context of which can be set up so magnificently by the programming that you're doing. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions for Casey? She's on our advisory board for Denver, along with Mr. Lance, Rob Lance, who she knows very well. And hearing none, let's continue to go around the room. One of the people I'd like you to meet is, and you may not have met, is Eduardo Gonzalez. Eduardo is the advisory board chair for Global Chamber Phoenix. He's an expert on business in Mexico and in the US, and in particular on manufacturing in either country. His connections on both sides of the border, there's nobody better. He is amazing in terms of who he knows, who he's connected to, and the work that he's doing to help support foreign companies coming into North America, and just companies that need help, particularly cross-border. Eduardo, could you just give we don't have that much time. We only have about 10 minutes or so, but if you could just give a couple minutes of kind of your perspective of what's going on, US, Mexico, and anything else you see around the world that we should know about.
Thank you, Doug. Really appreciate it. Yes, Eduardo Gonzalez. I'm based out of Phoenix, part of the advisory board here in Phoenix for the Global Chamber. What I do is I help companies locate manufacturing options on the Mexican side, so contract manufacturing solutions. And what we have seen right now with all the tariffs and the news and the changes is that many companies are just waiting to see what's going to happen once they start doing the negotiations, which we don't have a date yet for that. So that is why the Canadians, the Mexicans are trying to push for a date to get on the table, get that discussed, so companies can start to plan and do some projections for the future. So right now, what we have seen is kind of force interest in the US to move manufacturing here. And for those companies that have ongoing projects, they're continuing to do the projects on the Mexican side. And for those who haven't started, we see that they're on a holding pattern. Like Doug mentioned, I help companies with their manufacturing needs, using Mexico as a platform, but also we help companies under business development. So foreign companies that want to do business in the US, also in Mexico, we try to help them out. And I'll put my contact information in the chat. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Eduardo. Does anybody have any questions so far for anybody that have spoken? Any thoughts that have occurred? Feel free to jump in. I maybe just open up the floor, but I will say it, and I'd like to provide some context for Terry Levine. I've seen you texting, Terry. Thank you for all the information. Terry was instrumental for Global Chamber as we set up of our 525 chapters. The first three were Phoenix, Tucson, and Salt Lake. And Salt Lake largely because I went to the University of Utah, and the Utah, I started the Alumni Association for University of Utah in Arizona and deeply connected there. I met my wife at the University of Utah 45 years ago. We've been married for 43 years. Our 43rd anniversary is tomorrow. And while we've been meeting here, I've been texting back and forth to have our daughter, and also a Utah grad, to have dinner, sushi dinner with her. Terry helped set up Utah right from those beginnings. He's based in Park City. He's got a French connection, and he's got Egypt connection and helping small businesses. And he's very deeply connected in the arts community in Salt Lake. And you won't find somebody who's more of a proponent for Utah and companies coming to Utah than Terry. So Terry, thank you for your enthusiasm, and thanks for all that you've done with Global Chamber, and including your membership for all these years. It looks like you have a friend there. Oh, your microphone isn't working though. So thank you for so many years of support. Thank you. Does anybody have anything else that they would like to add? I see the Colorado Moms Demand Action. That sounds very familiar, but I don't remember what that is. I'm sorry, but I think you're maybe a prospective member. If you'd like to say hi, feel free.
Yes, sir. My apologies. This is Eric Nelson. I used to be a member. I need to renew.
Oh, okay.
Company is the Eric D. Nelson Agency of Smart Choice. I think I previously had it registered as Farmers Insurance, but I've since sold that business and bought a Smart Choice.
Okay, very good. So are anything that we can help you with today? Or any perspective you'd like to share?
No, sir. This has been a great forum. and I look forward to more.
Okay, very, very good. Where are you based?
Denver, Colorado.
Okay. Thanks for joining, and looking forward to reconnecting. Now it becomes clear. Why is your name there, Colorado Moms Demand Action? What's your connectivity there?
I am the group leader for Aurora, Colorado, and I have like 3 Zooms going, and on this particular Zoom, this was the only one available that I'm registered with to get it going. So I apologize for the name on there.
I see. Are you connected to that group, and why are Colorado moms demanding action? What is that all about? Action on what? What do they need?
To give you a brief description of Moms Demand Action, you ever heard of Everytown Gun Sense Safety?
I think so.
Yes, basically, they are the parent nonprofit organization. It was originally Moms Demand Action. It was born out of the shooting, the school shooting back in Virginia many, many years ago. And it has evolved tremendously all over the nation. And of course, we have a state chapter here, and I'm the group leader for the local chapter of Aurora. So basically, a bunch of parents and moms and fathers who fight against gun violence within our communities, respectively.
Got it. Very good. No, it's sad and I guess inspiring that out of tragedy, almost always something good happens, which I think goes to one of our members is a company called Positive Intelligence with Shirzad Shamin, who, if you haven't connected to that, you can go and get assessed. And the assessment that I did 2 years ago changed my life in terms of understanding one of the basic concepts that he positions, and that is everything is a gift. And one of the examples, which is the extreme example of Candy Lightner losing losing a child and through drunk driving, and then creating an organization that saved many lives. And so that's the extreme case of turning something that's horrific, that's hard to imagine for any of us, losing your child, and turning it into something positive. And so thank you for sharing that. Does anybody else have anything before we close the room? And if not, thank you so much for sharing today, for engaging today. Barry Berman, unfortunately, we lost the chance to hear from Barry. He just did a big project in Poland. He has a leadership organization that actually, right after I did Positive Intelligence, he did a course for me on integrity. He is the Mr. Integrity and Mr. Leadership. He's based in Colorado, and he bases a lot of the work that he does in helping leaders on the concept of integrity and living by your word. And it's very, very powerful. And so he's on the advisory board for Global Chamber Denver, and really appreciate, Barry, all that you do. One of our board members for Denver as well, just to kind of close the loop. We are coming to the end of the month, and on the last Wednesday of the month, we do Women in Global Leadership, a meeting. It's usually 8 or 9 or so. It's in the morning on the last Wednesday of the month. And the leader of that is Maria Putnam, who has been involved with Global Chamber Denver since the beginning, or near the beginning. And she started 2 different initiatives within Global Chamber globally, and one of them is this, and we continue to do that event. And she is leading the one next Wednesday. So Maria Putnam, speaking of initiatives that are a little bit got a little bit off track, she ended up starting the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Institute, DEI Institute, a few years ago. And as we know, everything labeled DEI these days seems to have been taken a hit. And so she has also taken a hit because of all of that. And I believe she's changing the name of the Institute, unfortunately. we are not political at Global Chamber. We're just global business and connecting and kind of focused in on that. We do involve politicians. In Denver, we've hosted, for instance, one of the a little bit of a funny politician, President Vicente Fox from Mexico, not because we agree or disagree with anything about what he does, other than he does pull people together. And there's a little bit of, of energy around some of the things that he's involved with. He gets involved with cannabis, but one of the strong things that he gets very involved with is entrepreneurial spirit from his state in Guanajuato, where he's from. And so one of our advisory board members for Denver is his chief of staff still, and also a very energetic fellow, but very involved with Mexico-US connections. And so our goal at Global Chamber is not to side with politics, it's side with progress and side with supporting members who, whether it's business oriented or whether it's a cause, want to be more successful and impactful in the world. So thank you for listening. Thank you for engaging. Reach out anytime. Members, reach out anytime for any help that you need. And if you're not a member, you reach out for more information. And thank you for engaging today. Have a great rest of your day. And Eduardo and I are going to jump onto another meeting for a committee within the Phoenix chapter. Thank you, Eduardo, for your leadership, and thank you for joining this conversation today.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Vanita. Thanks for kicking things off.
Thanks. Hey, Megan, I want to connect.